Gymnastics is a really tough sport. Not many people realize just how much of a toll it takes on the gymnasts' bodies and minds. It has one of the highest rates of injuries too. Sometimes they break their ankles, and they can be turned quadriplegic permanently. Without further ado, let's look at 9 of the most dangerous moments in gymnastics caught on video. Number 9. Girl breaks both ankles. Gymnasts have a way of making their work look easy, but it really is just the opposite. Their entire body is at risk every time they perform such dangerous stunts. Take a look at this girl. She didn't sprain or fracture, she literally broke both ankles during practice. You can even witness the second in which it all goes wrong, and they just fold inward, and you know she's a goner. Gymnastics has one of, if not the highest injury rates among women's sports, with almost 100,000 gymnasts badly wounded each year. Not many people know this, but female gymnasts suffer more injuries than men. And when they do suffer injuries, they're more likely to need surgery to fix them too. Number 8. Samir Ait Saeed. Samir shattered his shin during a vault at the Olympics. This is arguably one of the worst injuries to be ever recorded or seen at the Olympics. This happened back in 2012. You probably think he quit gymnastics after this horrendous incident, but he actually recovered and got back in the game too. He competed in the 2020 Tokyo Summer Olympics. Here we see his left leg just totally snap on the vault landing. It looks completely mangled. His foot and the lower part of his shin hung in the opposite direction from the rest of his leg. The injury looks too gruesome to even be real. The crowd went crazy cheering as he was loaded onto the stretcher and taken away. He held a hand up for solidarity too. Number 7. Gymnast barely pulls off death-defying move. Next up on our list is this incredible moment. In April, 22-year-old gymnast Deepa Karmakar went down the vault runway, jumped on the springboard with so much force, it sounded like the board would snap in two, and catapulted her small 4'11" body into the air. She rotated 900 degrees, meaning she pulled off 2.5 flips. Very close to not spinning fast enough to make a safe landing on her feet, she then straightened herself and put on a victorious salute. The audience went crazy. The stunt she did here is called the Prudinova, and it's so scary that only few athletes have ever even tried it, including Deepa. The Prudinova is among the most extreme moves a gymnast can try in a field filled with scarily dangerous stunts. If the athlete spins too far ahead, her leg could break. If she doesn't rotate far enough, she could snap her neck. One wrong move and I could die on the spot, Deepa said to BBC News in March about performing the risky stunt. Here is Deepa performing the vault in April, when she officially clinched her place at the 2016 Olympic Games in Rio de Janeiro. The hardest part is the landing. Deepa pulls herself out of the flip just in the nick of time to land on the mat in a squat. The movement is so fast, it looks like a blur. When you're landing that close to the ground, you can't let yourself be off by even an inch. So why is Deepa risking her life here? All for Olympic glory. The gymnastics scoring system gives points to very difficult moves. A gymnast's score comprises 2 numbers: the difficulty score, how tough a move or routine is, and the performance score, how well it's executed. Number 6. The Thomas Salto. This skill, known as the Thomas Salto, is now banned in the Olympics after a Russian gymnast, Elena Mokina, became quadriplegic, paralyzed permanently, and totally from the neck down because of an accident during practice. This is the last time a gymnast attempted the move. Her leg was fractured previously and in a cast, and doctors and her coach pressured her to perform anyway. Even though she knew deep down that her injury wasn't healed, she ended up doing it anyway. She even told her coach she'd end up breaking her neck if she did it, and no one listened to her. She rotated wrong and landed on her chin, which broke her neck. She was only 20 when the accident happened and died at the age of 45 because of complications from that accident. Number 5. Freak accident. Caitlin Ohashi is a former artistic gymnast who used to compete for the University of California. In an interview at the 2014 WOGA Classic, she revealed that she wasn't sure of her ability to resume gymnastics at the international elite level after her injury. Shortly after, she suffered from 2 torn shoulders and a spine injury that needed surgery, and didn't compete again until 2015. Shortly after that, she quit for good and enrolled enrolled herself at UCLA instead. Here, she slipped and missed her foot on the beam, and as soon as she landed, her coach came running to help her. She landed on her knees and hands instead of on her feet. You can't tell in this video since she got up and pretended like everything was okay, but her neck was actually broken. Number 4, mishap leads to paralysis. This unlucky gymnast was caught on camera during the accident in which he landed on his neck and ended up being paralyzed. A lot of the movements that are required of gymnasts are extremely dangerous and can do unspeakable damage to their bodies. This is also why most gymnasts are short. This man's height really added to his injury too. It could have been much worse had he landed on his head. This gymnast's been lucky though. He's been recovering since the accident and seems to be doing mostly okay now. Fortunately, all rollout skills have been officially banned after many gymnasts suffered such harrowing injuries. Number 3, KORBUT flip. The KORBUT flip is one of the most amazing moves in gymnastics, but recently, Olympic gymnasts aren't allowed to attempt it, and the reason behind it is the huge risk involved in doing the move. Olga KORBUT of Belarus, who represented the Soviet Union at Munich in the 1972 Olympics, excited the big crowds during the games, as she came up with one of the finest moments in Games history. KORBUT stood on the high bar, performed a backflip, and grabbed the bar again. No one had ever done such a backflip on uneven bars in a worldwide competition before. When KORBUT attended the London Games, she was asked about the KORBUT flip, to which she had to say, "I was always creative. I was bored to do the same thing over and over again." Back to back to back tumbling. Back to back tumbling is any tumbling pass in which a gymnast tumbles back and forth from one side of the floor to the other, then back again to the original corner without taking any breaks or pauses. Once performed very often by gymnasts such as Dominique Dawes, it isn't done quite as often today for some reasons. Today, the attention is on difficult skills that take more energy to finish on their own without flipping away from. There is also a bigger attention on landing and connecting skills, making back-to-back tumbling too tricky without being reduced. Number 1, Simone Biles and the Twisties. Upon finishing her first vault in Tokyo, the victorious Olympic all-around champion looked worried. Simone Biles didn't seem to be in pain and wasn't limping or grimacing, but she was seriously wounded. This is pretty much why most vaults are now banned officially. Biles was meant to do 2.5 twists up in the air after going off the vault, but once airborne, she only went through with 1.5. She immediately knew something was up. Pretty much every gymnast you ask can definitely relate. Biles has since said that both the mental stress and pressure that were here in the days prior to the Olympics have definitely taken a toll on her confidence. But even worse, she felt a separation between her mind and body. Her body wasn't doing what she wanted it to anymore. Whatever the cause behind it, gymnasts call this ugly phenomenon the twisties. When you say the word twisties, every gymnast knows what you're talking about, said Jordan Weiber, member of the 2012 Olympics gold medal team and now a head of women's gymnastics coach at the University of Arkansas. It's something all gymnasts experience at one time or another. Weiber, it was when she was 10. She wanted her body to flip forward, but it somehow twisted, and she felt she had no control over where she was healed. You get lost in the air. You don't know where you are. You don't know where the ground is. You don't know how many times you're twisting, and you can't control how many times you're twisting, says Weiber. That's the best way to describe it. It's really scary. If you open up and land incorrectly, it's really, really dangerous.